Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will be discussing one of the topics of all time, which is how do we understand what is actually true in life and in reality? This is a very important topic. As I said, it's one of the topics of all time because when you know what's actually true in life and in reality, then you're able to orient your life and ground it upon something that's real and tangible. So knowing what's real is very important because it is practically useful for getting you better results in your relationships, your business, your health, etc. And I think this is pretty obvious to many people. However, what is not very obvious to many people is that 99.9% of human beings don't really care about the truth. What they care about instead is justifying their own selfish biases, opinions, pet theories, beliefs, and comfort. That's what people care about. They don't really care about discovering the actual true nature of reality. And this is not just 99% of people, this also includes scientists, even people whose jobs are to discover the true nature of reality. Even these people don't really care about the actual truth of existence. And the reason I know this for a fact is because many scientists are, well, first of all, many scientists are great, okay? A lot of them are interested in a wide variety of topics and are very open-minded. However, many scientists whose jobs allegedly are to discover the true nature of reality and understand how reality actually works, a lot of them aren't very open-minded to many of the discoveries and findings of spirituality and spiritual disciplines like yoga, for example, or Buddhism, or even shamanism, or psychedelics. These topics are not seriously explored by many scientifically minded people. And there's a deep reason for that, actually, because discovering the truth about existence is a deeply personal topic. It's something that you can't really take yourself out of the equation. When you're going to do a science experiment, for example, scientists think that they can just observe an atom or a subatomic particle and just look at it without involving themselves. They think they can just, like say I have this stick here, we'll just look at this stick and take ourselves out of the equation and just understand what is the true nature of this thing. What is this really made of? And what this leads to is an infinite regress problem, because you can keep zooming in forever. When do you stop zooming? Think about it. Let's say, as an analogy, we create an infinitely scaling amount of higher power microscopes that can just keep zooming and zooming and zooming, and every few years we invent a new model of the microscope, just like how they release a new iPhone every year that has a slightly better camera that zooms in a little bit farther and a little bit farther. So imagine we do that every year. When do we get to the point where we realize that we can just keep zooming in and we're not really answering the question, but wait a second, what is experience? What is this? Not only is this made of, what are its smaller parts? I'm asking, what is this object here? What does it exist as on the being level? This is a question that some scientists do think about. Maybe they need to read some philosophy, they need to study some mysticism, but many scientists will just kind of wave their hand away at this question, think it's fluffy, think it's impossible to get the answer. Adam, we can't know that question. Oh, what is experience? That sounds like a fluffy philosophical question, but No, actually, that's not a fluffy philosophical question. That is a question that is pertaining directly to science, actually, and this is a question of empiricism. Empiricism is, you could say, a school of philosophy, but it's really an attitude towards discovering the truth, which is where you use your direct experience to know what reality is. So that's what all of science is based on, allegedly, where we use experimentation, we test against reality to see what's true and what's not true. That's empiricism. That's what our whole society in the West is based on, the scientific method. And that's great. I love empiricism. I'm an empiricist, and I think that any self-respecting philosopher or anyone who, even any mystic who cares about the truth is an empiricist, because by definition, if you just really break it down, empiricism, what is it? It's the study of, you're using experience to know what's real. And that makes a lot of sense because experience is the only thing we have that's real. If something isn't really there, then by definition, it's not actually true. So even Buddhism, for example, that's empiricism, where you sit and you meditate and you become aware of what is actually in front of your face. What is this hand? What is my field of sight? Now, granted, yes, a lot of Buddhism can fly off into fairy tale land, and that's the core problem that I want to address in this video, is that every single philosophy, including science, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, shamanism, it doesn't matter which, witchcraft, New Age stuff, it doesn't matter which. Many philosophies have this tendency to kind of fly off into fairy tale land. Excuse me, my bag is hooked onto my microphone here. There we go. Many philosophies will fly off into fairy tale land, but they won't bring themselves back to direct experience. Does that remind you of anything? Have you ever practiced meditation before? What are we doing in meditation? We're sitting. We're connecting to direct experience. So we're feeling the bench on our butt. We're feeling the air entering and exiting our lungs. We're hearing the sounds, the birds. Meditation is just about connecting to what is here, what's present. And then when you fly off into fairy tale land, concept land, the land of the ego, where you're trying to get things and create a really well-structured pillow fort for yourself, to build a pillow fort of safety and security for yourself in your business, in your relationship, in your social life, in your health. That's what most of your thoughts have to do with: your social status, your plans, and your survival. The ego is the master of building comfortable pillow forts to live in. How do we maximize our pleasure and minimize our pain? That's what you think about all day. That's all you care about. Unfortunately, a lot of that ends up bringing us into fairy tale concept land that isn't very grounded in actual truth, in actual reality. And this is where the first conflict of interest arises. This is why scientists don't really care about the truth. A scientist will study subatomic particles for 45 years, and I'm sure some of them will do meditation and maybe even try some psychedelics, but they won't become serious mystics. They won't actually take it to the next level where they actually apprehend the nature of being for themselves. Some of them will. I'm sure some of them will. However, a lot of them won't. A lot of scientists just kind of stick to their own lane, their own little niche, and they only do their own little scientific work. And this is why science is so corrupt, in the same way that religion was corrupted and is corrupted today throughout history. We live in a very individualistic and materialistic, scientifically minded society here in the West, and we don't really hold religion in very high regard. We much prefer science. If something isn't scientifically proven or verified, then we basically say it doesn't exist or isn't real. The problem with that is that science is not as clean as you think it is. It's actually very corrupt. And the reason for this lies in the problem of consciousness. So it doesn't really matter what experiment you're running. If the scientist isn't conscious, then the experiment will go wrong. So the analogy I can think of is like, let's say we want to improve the education system. We want to make the kids more aware of things like meditation, spirituality. We want to make them aware of health, finances, building a business, becoming an entrepreneur, following their passion, becoming creative, exploring nature. These are all things you might say you want to add into the education system. Emotional mastery, emotional intelligence, relationships. All things that were not spoken to me about in my school, and I had to learn on my own for the last 7 years, reading books and so forth. If we want to improve the education system, it all starts with improving the teachers, right? Because the teachers are the ones that are there and that are actually with the kids all day. They're guides for the kids. The thing is, it's impossible to teach something like emotional intelligence to kids unless the teacher is pretty experienced with emotional intelligence. And from my experience, the teachers are not very experienced with emotional intelligence, which is just a reflection of the common person in our society. So since the teachers, just like the politicians, are consisting of average people, then the average emotional intelligence of the society is what will be taught in school. So that's the thing that applies to science as well. So to take the teacher analogy further, like my teachers in school yelled and screamed at the top of their lungs and had breakdowns almost every day. Some of my teachers were great. A lot of them were just like psychopaths. Like they had emotional breakdowns every single day. So I don't really think that they were fit to teach. Now, the point is that a scientist who isn't actually aware of their own nature, they're not aware of the nature of experience, the nature of being, and these things, how can they do good science? Just like how can a teacher effectively teach kids if they have no emotional awareness? How can a scientist discover the nature of reality if they have no actual awareness? They're not even aware of who they are. This is the problem with religion. So for example, Jesus was an enlightened guy. He was aware of the truth. He discovered the true nature of reality, which is love and compassion. And it's extremely deep, which I'm not going to get into. Maybe I will in this video, but Jesus discovered it. He got it 2,000 years ago. The problem is that how do we pass on Jesus' message? What would happen is that the disciples would pass it on, and then the priests would pass it on. But now the problem is that the priests can only preach of equivalent consciousness and wisdom and love that they're able to embody for themselves. The other day, my girlfriend said she was at church, she was at a wedding, and the priest was just yelling and complaining about the music that the kids listen to these days, how there's too much bass in the music. And she told me that the priest was visibly angry with the kids these days and the music that they listen to. He said, "That's not love," the bass, right? And my girlfriend was telling me, like, yeah, okay, the priest is not aware that everything in existence is made of love. That's what Jesus was aware of. And then if you want to teach the good news of Christianity, allegedly, you'd have to be aware of yourself as Christ, as God. You'd have to be aware of what you really are. However, not everyone's aware of that. And that's by design. Because part of the reason of being alive in the dream here is to experience yourself as a limited being that is not God. That's why you're here, to experience yourself as an ego. So this is the conflict of interest that I'm talking about. Because let's say a scientist is doing a scientific experiment, they're looking at the stick. What happens when they turn the investigation around and they start looking back into their own awareness, and they ask themselves, wait a second, who's looking? Because if you're really honest, if you want to know what this stick is, you have to know what you are. You can't know what the stick is without knowing what you are. And you can't just say, oh, well, I'm a monkey. I'm evolved from apes. I'm a human being, I have a brain, my brain creates consciousness. Okay, Adam, great, awesome, let's not think about that too much. Let's just look at the stick and figure out what it is. Let's keep zooming in. And if we keep zooming in, we'll figure it out eventually. Well, actually, what's so funny is what a lot of scientists don't realize is that we did that, actually. We actually kept zooming in, and we discovered the wave-particle duality, like Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. We discovered quantum mechanics, that the observer cannot be separated from the object that is observed, and it's impossible to know what an object is without knowing what you are. So this is what corrupts science. What people don't realize is that the scientists themselves are not aware of what reality is. So just like the priests aren't aware of what they are and what God is. So if the scientist isn't aware, then how can they do good science? How can the teacher teach the kids emotional intelligence if the teacher themselves don't embody emotional intelligence? So now I want you to be aware, if you have any objections to what I'm saying, like emotional objections, what's going to happen is your mind's going to start spinning scenarios. Like, oh, Adam, but what about this? But what about this? But isn't science good in this sense, in this sense? Yeah, science is good in certain senses. It's very practical. It's good for building technology and microscopes and lasers and rockets to Mars, and even medicine and stuff like that. So science is good. There's nothing wrong with science. I like science. But what you need to realize is that science is one branch of philosophy. For all of history, scientia has just been a branch of philosophy. But what has happened in the last 200 years or so, maybe 300 years, is that science has overtaken philosophy as the ultimate arbiter of truth. Now we think, well, since we can make iPhones and medicine, now we don't need to do this airy-fairy, armchair, wishful thinking kind of philosophy. We can just get the actual truth for ourselves by studying reality objectively. But this is misguided, because this isn't really being honest and humble about the limitations of science. it's important to understand that science is limited. It's easy to become arrogant in the truth-finding process, to think that you've found the truth. Oh, I found the truth. I discovered Adam's YouTube channel. I found the truth. Oh, I found this one scientist. He discovered the truth. Oh, I found this one ideology, this one philosophy, the truth. I found spirituality. But remember that if you want to actually find the truth, you have to keep reminding yourself that you didn't find the truth. Because the truth is what is real in your experience. All right, so let's talk about the limits of empiricism. So empiricism is really the only way to discover what's true in reality, because empiricism, all that means is just direct consciousness, direct experience. That's the only way to know anything, is just to experience it directly. That's why the only way that human beings learn is by experiencing reality. That's why storytelling is such an important form of teaching, because storytelling allows humans to learn from the experience of the characters in the story. No other method of teaching is as powerful as storytelling and examples. So let's say I want to make a video like this. The only way you can actually learn what I'm talking about is if I spend a long time telling stories and giving tangible examples. If I don't provide you with examples, then you can't learn what I'm saying. The only way you can learn anything is through experience. Because what is an example? An example is just something that the person can relate to their experience. So the only way anything new is learned is via experience. That's the only way anything is ever known or understood. So the problem is that your experience is limited by what you explore in your life. So the most valuable thing I've ever done is actually what my mentor Leo Gura told me to do when I first began my personal development journey. Leo Gura, his style of personal development, he says, don't trust me. You have to go out for yourself and study hundreds of diverse perspectives from all sorts, many sources, so that you can understand what reality is for yourself. You need to study every religion. Don't just study one religion, study all of them. And don't just study religion, study science, study New Age stuff, study history, study politics, study personal development and success. Study systems thinking, study business and marketing, study all perspectives. This is very important because if you want to acquire wisdom, not just knowledge. Knowledge is just like hand-me-down beliefs. You're just copying what someone else is telling you. That's not like, knowledge is just knowing about something, but wisdom is understanding the deep workings of the thing through experience. If you want to gain wisdom, the only way to do that is by exploring hundreds of diverse perspectives and actually seeing for yourself what it is by going through this kind of trial and error process. So one thing that I've done that's really helped me is just read hundreds of books and be very open-minded the entire time, super open-minded, and just test everything against my own intuition and take on everything as a temporary hypothesis and test it for myself. So I value learning through my own experience. Sorry, there's someone riding their bike over there. Learning through your own experience. So one of the bottlenecks of learning through your own experience is that you can't really know what's actually true in reality Because your experience is limited by your awareness. So this is the deep point of the video. You don't even have access to the full range of possible experiences because your awareness is the bottleneck. What a scientist doesn't understand is that if they were to take a psychedelic, their consciousness would open up to an infinite range of potential experiences that are as real as waking life. There is no scientific experiment that you can do that will prove that waking life is the only real thing, whereas what you experience in your dreams is not real, or what you experience in meditation is not real. So just as a very practical example, in the last month, I've become hyper aware of my energetic body. I'm actually aware of my auric field. Like right now, my aura is a little bit tired because I didn't sleep much last night. Whoops. Drop my camera. Whoops, I dropped my camera. Since I'm a bit tired, we'll walk around a little bit. Take my socks off here. I like walking barefoot. So recently I've been becoming hyper aware of my auric field, which means I'm actually able to feel my energy body. And this is something I haven't been able to do until recently, and I didn't even know this existed. So how did I even stumble upon this? So you can't tell me that I'm crazy or that I'm wrong, because I'm not. I exist, I'm a human being, and I feel my energy body. Okay, it's an actual feeling that I have. I'm able to sense my energy, and it's just like, I think every human can do this. It's just being very aware of your emotional state. So here's the thing, the energy body actually exists. But the reason why it's easy to deny the existence of the energy body is just because you lack awareness. You don't have an experience of the energy body because the channels of your awareness are a bit closed. What contributes to this closing? Well, things like bad diet, heavy metal accumulation in your organs through drinking dirty water, breathing dirty air, that kind of stuff. Lack of proper training, meditation practice, and teaching. For me personally, a big way that I've activated my energy body is by reading books and learning esoteric topics, which sounds crazy because you'd think that reading and learning can't activate your energy body, but for me it has. For me, just listening to audiobooks and listening to YouTube videos, kind of like this one, activates my energy body. So after a certain kind of critical mass of information that I've absorbed through my strategy of acquiring wisdom, which is just reading hundreds of books and meditating and doing psychedelics and verifying everything in my direct experience, I've become more aware of my energy body, and this is something that's real. And it's very useful to know, actually, because then it helps with creating tangible results in your life. Because let's say when you're dating, for example, one thing people don't realize is that 95% of your results in your dating come from your energetic state. I might even go as far to say 100% of results. Dating, attraction. What is attraction? It's a play of energy. So when I embody a good feeling energy state, and I embody the feeling of confidence and playfulness and honesty and desire, this is given off in my aura, and people in the room around me feel my vibe. So it doesn't matter how many fancy pickup lines you use, Doesn't matter what clothes you're wearing or even what car you're driving. Sure, some women who are not aware of their own energy body will only care about the clothes you're wearing and the car you're driving, and same with men, right? Some men who are not aware of their energy body will only pay attention to the woman's looks. But most people who are not terribly shallow, who search for just even a little bit of substance in the relationship that they're searching for, they want to connect with the person. What a lot of people don't realize is that the only thing that matters is the energy that the person's giving off. It's about how they stand. The energy subcommunicates in tone of voice, pace of speaking, posture, breath, eye contact. When you touch the person, you can feel how they feel. If there's like a warmth, a love, a tenderness, and also a kind of strength, you can feel someone's energy just by touching them. That's a power that I have. I think everyone has that power. I'm very sensitive to it though. I feel people's level of consciousness right when I touch them. It's very cool. This is something that I've been able to develop just through practice of meditation, deconstructing my limiting beliefs about what reality is. So one of the things that helps me improve my energetic state is just to wake up in the dream. Woo. Woo. We're awake now. Wow. Isn't that amazing? You might even notice that even my own energy fluctuates throughout the video, as at some points I get a little bit lost in the dream, and then I come back and wake up and realize, oh my God, I don't know if you guys can see those trees back there. They are absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, so when you bring a sort of wakeful, loving, conscious, awake, like this kind of Neo in the Matrix kind of energy, where you're awake. And you're not like pretending to be awake, you're actually aware that everything's made of your consciousness. You're living in a waking dream. This kind of stuff will actually help you to be aware of your energy body and help you practically in your dating, also in business as well, all relationships, right? Because all relationships are just energy exchange. So it doesn't matter how disciplined you are, it doesn't matter how good of an offer you have, or what your price is, or how your six-pack abs or whatever. I'm wearing my underwear, guys, because I want to. I don't know what the whole stigma is about being in your underwear. Like, if I'm in my underwear, does that make my points less credible? Not really. If anything, it makes them more credible. Because I'm chilling in my underwear in the forest. Like, what, do I have to be in like a science lab to like talk about the nature of reality? Like, I don't understand. I have most videos I'm not in my underwear. Anyways, side point. So now that you're 33 minutes into the video, it doesn't really matter that I'm in my underwear. Check out these trees, guys. Whoa. Those are like some of the nicest. I'm in Canada here. We have the forest in Canada is mixed with deciduous and coniferous trees. So pine trees and leafy trees. So they're just absolutely gorgeous. So the point I'm trying to make is that a scientist who is not aware of their energy body can't study the energy body, and therefore they can't relay to the rest of society what the true nature of reality is, because they're not aware of the true nature of reality. So imagine a scientist is using a microscope, but their microscope is dirty. They have a dirty lens, and it fudges all of their data. Would you trust that scientist to give you a good, accurate representation of the nature of reality if their apparatus is foggy and cloudy? No, you wouldn't trust them. You'd say, clean your fucking instrument before trying to tell me what your findings are. Well, then what's the difference between that and the scientist having a foggy, cloudy awareness, a cloudy mind? They're not clear about the nature of existence. They don't see the nature of being clearly. Would you trust them to report back to you what the nature of being is if they don't see it clearly with their own eyes? You'd say, no, go wipe the fog out of your fucking eyes before you come tell me what the nature of being is. I don't want it, your microscope is dirty. Your instrument for observing reality is dirty. Go clean it. Go meditate. Sharpen your awareness. Get it more clean. Clean your diet. Purify your auric field. Sit in nature. Sit on the floor and meditate for extended periods. Go bathe in the river. It's wet and now my underwear are wet. When you clean the apparatus of your awareness, you're actually aware of what reality is, now you can give a better, more accurate representation of the nature of reality. Now, the question is, well, Adam, like, I totally get what you're talking about, but like, why doesn't everyone know about this? Why isn't this more popular? Like, unfortunately, I can't really show this video to like my dad or my mom. They won't get it because you're in your underwear, so they won't listen to you. That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to do here on this channel. And in the future, I'm actually working on making more like polished videos. This one's kind of just by the seat of my pants. This one, it kind of flew by the seat of my pants. And my pants flew away, actually. I don't even know where they are. But the point is that on this channel, I am making videos that are like higher production value, that do talk about the nature of awareness and reality and stuff like that. But that's all coming with time. There's a lot of, like, there's a big learning curve. Like, I got to learn how to like edit more, and I can't just even if I want to hire an editor, I got to learn how to hire like the right editor and all that stuff. So with time, I am continuing to put out higher and higher quality content, and basically it's a tricky question, because how do you get someone who is so deeply asleep in terms of just all of their misunderstandings? Like, imagine their mind is just wired the wrong way. Like, they have all the wrong beliefs. They're all based in fear and greed and misperception and lack. They're not actually true. How do you get that person to then even care about something like science and how to discover the truth? Well, that's what I do here on this channel. That's one of my passions and my interests. There's many different ways to do that. I'm gonna test and experiment all the different ways. I've already done it with some people. Some people here have been listening to me and they've learned a lot of stuff. I get texts and comments and voice messages and stuff every day from people telling me that the stuff I'm making is changing their life, and they're meditating now, and now they're more open-minded and all this stuff. Basically, if you want to follow along with me, continue raising your awareness, I've already grown a lot. I've been documenting my journey for the last 4 or 5 years, and even I've been growing before that. I grow extremely fast. So if you want to kind of keep up with me, which is going to be hard, but please, by all means, try your best. Things that have helped me: daily meditation, cleaning up your diet, questioning your beliefs in science and in religion and in New Age stuff. Question everything, read everything, read as much as you can. I have a book list that's on my website that is not out yet, but it's going to be out soon. I'm finishing it up. I already have all the books listed. I'm just going to put that out onto the website. And Psychedelics help, honestly. Just be open to your experience. Follow your highest excitement. Follow your curiosity and your interest. Always keep focusing on growth. Create a vision for yourself. Very important. Create an inspiring vision for yourself that's based on your top values and your top strengths. And remind yourself of your top 10 goals and your top 10 values and your life purpose. Remind yourself of this stuff in the morning and at night. This is what we do in the Conscious Creator program. That's something that you can check out. That's my group community coaching program. There's a course in there that is extremely high quality, and it talks about how to discover your passion, how to turn that into a life purpose, and then also how to basically become the best version of yourself by mastering your own mind and your consciousness. I talk a lot about like reality creation and law of attraction in there, but it's very grounded and very solid and tangible. So yeah, definitely check that out. It's currently in the process of being constructed, but if you're watching this video in the future, it's probably out. Click the link in the description. That's the best coaching program. I've been making it for like 3 years, and it's awesome. So check that out. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, then leave it a like, thumbs up, subscribe for more content like this. More amazing stuff on the way. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.